The removal of fuel subsidy in 2023 has triggered a profound shift with far-reaching implications across the economic, social, and environmental spheres. While the reallocation of resources from subsidies to vital sectors like the healthcare, the transport, and education holds positive transformative potentials, ensuring effective utilization and equitable distribution of these funds warrants meticulous considerations. The Nigerian gross domestic product grew by 2.51% year-on-year in real terms in the second quarter of 2023. This growth rate is lower than the 3.54% recorded in the second quarter of 2022 and may be attributed to the challenging economic conditions being experienced. The performance of the GDP in the second quarter of 2023 was driven mainly by the services sector, which recorded a growth of 4.42% and contributed about 58.42% to the aggregated GDP. Nigeria's dominant oil sector, which also accounts for the bulk of the government's revenue and 90% of foreign exchange reserves, contracted 0.85% in the third quarter, a rise of 12.6% from the second quarter when the sector shrank by 13.43%. President Tinubu in May scrapped a costly but popular petrol subsidy and lifted currency controls, which he said was to save the country from going under. But the subsidy removal has worsened the inflation currently in double digits, fueling anger and frustration for a population grappling with a cost of living crisis. Now, we will be talking about all of this, and how far Nigerian economy have grown or fallen. We'll get to dissect this. Now, joining us via Zoom to discuss on this issue is Yushau Aliyu. He is an economic analyst and to review, of course, the Nigerian economy so far. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Yushau.
Thank you, and compliment of the season.
For joining us on the program.
Yes. Of the season.
Yes, indeed, compliments. So, on economic terms, one would say that, well, the economy grew, and on paper, of course, it grew because if we look at data that I have here and the data that Sumi, of course, read out, we saw in the first half of the year 2.4% growth. But then again, there were, of course, some policy challenges which had, of course, impact on the economy, some of which is the Naira redesign policy and, of course, the removal of the fuel subsidy. Now, let's start with the Naira redesign policy, which started like from towards the end of 2022 and leading to a reduction in the growth of sectors like agriculture that saw a 0.3% growth instead of the around 2.2% growth it saw in the first half of the year 2022. So I want to get your perspectives of how we got this so wrong, especially when you consider that the Naira redesign policy wasn't really a bad policy and its intention wasn't a negative one when the government introduced it to Nigerians.
Actually, the real situation on ground is lack of collective effort in arriving at an economic situation that is friendly to all. Remember in 2000, when former President Buhari presented an appropriation, the Appropriation Act of that year was targeted for collective prosperity. And that collective prosperity is what has not been achieved for a very long period of time because most of the gross rates that you have seen recorded in service sector, this cannot translate to general populace based on many reasons. If you check, for instance, insecurity, which has also allowed a lot of farmers to leave their farmland, not only to leave their farmland, but to also be attracted in the poverty club. These are some of the issues that has compounded our development process and has also stopped us from having a collective prosperity where if the upper class are enjoying from the proceeds of their investment in such service sector, those in the rural economy cannot have the same because they are out of production line not only out of production line, even the cost of living as a result of double-digit inflation that is up to 28.20% has eroded most of the income. And even when you check the Human Capital Development Index as stipulated by the United Nations and the World Bank, you realize that there has been a lot of challenge, a lot of obstacle, and we are not even heading to the right direction. If you remember vividly, now the former central bank is at the mercy of the law because it has been disproved that there are a lot of corrupt practices that took place in the banking arrangement, and that has been our argument for a very long time. You are trying to check money supply, and you are taking most of the monies that has been accrued by the economy to other economies, and not only taking all the accruals of the proceed of the economy to other economies. You are not even giving the proper direction for the economy, because in terms of money supply, you check money supply M1, you check money supply M2, you check M3, but all of this you are trying to apply the orthodox, that is the conventional tools, in trying to adjust market structure that is not guided by such kind of orthodox values or orthodox macroeconomic ingredient that is required.
All right, Yushao, let's talk about, one of the things that happened within this period where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu resumed his office. One of the things he called out was food. He placed a state of emergency on food security, which is something that has gotten worse, from the moment that he placed that. How would you say that the government has put efforts in order to make sure that these things doesn't get out of hand? I mean, and we are even coming to see World Bank pointing out, calling out states rather in Nigeria that will also face more hardship, economic hardship in 2024.
So remember, this is harvesting period, and if it is harvesting period, it is expected that food production supposed to be low. Not only, food prices supposed to have go down. That is one. Second, we are expecting to have enough supply in our market, but unfortunately, based on the concept of supply bottlenecks, all the market as such are empty. I am right now in Zaria City, and I have tried to cross-check some of this market, and I have realized that there are a lot of middlemen that are taking out the production and then locking them in their stores. So if you have a scenario of this nature and it is not checked by government, definitely the food prices will continue to go up. That is why even the report of the National Bureau of Statistics revealed that the high inflation is resulted in food items, and that is not good for any economy that has a very large population, the economy that is experiencing a hyperinflation, the economy that is experiencing high unemployment rate, the economy that is facing so much economic disturbances. You cannot have good food security if you don't have good food supplies. The supplies bottlenecks. First of all, what is the required metric of tons that is required for maize for the population of 200 million people? What is the metric ton requirement of rice for a population that is above 200? These are some of the things that you consider in food security, because if you don't consider the population size, the structure of the population, the demographic structure of the population, the consumption pattern of those individuals, you cannot achieve any food security. Because even if you make the supplies, now you check the income, that is the income grouping of those particular consumers. Can their income afford what to consume? These are some of the basic challenges that is not giving food to the tables of many Nigerians. And unless government provided an avenue where you have enough food supply and at the right prices, concomitant with the income of prospective consumers, you will continue to experience food out of tables of many Nigerians.
All right, so quite a plethora of challenges currently faced, a lot of issues. But one thing that the administration of today has said time and time again is that they are not unaware of the situation. This is probably the reason why we've seen the president in the last couple of months travel from country to country, attending one summit to another to see how we can woo, investors. But the question, is this enough? Well, we might not know that, but then again, in September, the Financial Times Stock Exchange groups known as Russell declassified Nigeria to unclassified for a myriad of reasons. One of them is the forex issue, of course, and the issue of liquidity. Now, with the drive of the current administration and with this current downgrading of Nigeria to unclassified, do you see this affecting the potential of Nigeria getting foreign direct investments from our partners from outside the country, which would in one way or the other impact our, of course, exchange rates and some of these issues that are supposed to address these challenges and these issues that you mentioned?
It is a negative report against Nigeria, and all investors are very interested in knowing the financial situation, the financial stability of any system. Even the central bank, is aware that there is no financial stability as far as forex is concerned. And also there has been many agitation from different quarters to try and establish a proper record of accruals of government, not only accruals of government, but proper record of what is required in Nigerian economy. I think one fundamental thing that is very important is a situation where we expect the central bank to come up with better policy options, not only better policy options, but with an orientation program, not to Nigerian poor people, but to Nigerian politicians who are busy scrambling to have dollars, not for transaction purposes, but for other obvious reasons. And I think also our monetary policy committee, if it is meeting, I am expecting the monetary policy to begin to review the MPR. This MPR is I think the MPR structure where individual investors are encouraged to invest has to be looked into, because primarily our investment strategy has to do with diversified economy, and this diversified economy must include agriculture. Most of the effort Mr. President is making is investment in banking sector, investment in oil and gas, not investment in agriculture. And even if we are to invest in agriculture, the federal government must have to establish right pricing policies of agri inputs. These agri inputs are very necessary. Even without foreign direct investment, we can expand our production, we can achieve our production target, and at the same time, we can stabilize prices of most of the agri output, which are very cogent for our national development.
You have quite a lot to say, to the federal government. So let's assume that this current administration is one that listens. We have foreign companies here in Nigeria who are struggling and really struggling to repatriate their funds, back to their countries. Of course, there's the issue of the food crisis, there's the issue of the inflation, there's the issue of the exchange rates, which is quite volatile. What would be your advice to this administration in the short, medium, and long term to address all of this issue, or at least a significant portion of these issues?
The first advice I will give this government is to try and make sure that PMS is produced. Our requirement for PMS is being attained in this local economy. This will allow our forex influx to be retained for other purposes at the exchange market. That is one. Second, I will advise the government also to make sure that they put the right strategy to maintain our agricultural farmlands where to be accessible. Unless if we cannot access our farmland, we cannot meet up with the required metric ton that can keep our economy. And lastly, I will also advise the central bank to check inflation. By checking inflation is to stabilize, to stop inflation from going up. If we cannot stop inflation, we can use measures, and these measures are known to them. Unless when we put right measures in our monetary and fiscal policies to make our prices stable, we will continue to face a lot of challenges that will result to vicious cycle of poverty.
Michelle, let's talk about insecurity. I mean, if there is one major thing that we have seen affect our economy, from the ending of 2022 to this period, which is the ending of 2023, is the insecurity, and it has affected every sector of the economy. So what would you say has gotten us to this point? I mean, there is a lot of mistakes from the military. There's a lot of oversight from the federal and the state government on the things that are happening. There's a lot of stakeholders coming out to say the federal government are not listening to their own advice, as experts on this situation. So how would you say we got here? From it being just a minor something that started in just one state to becoming something nationwide, where someone cannot even leave from his home to another place or from one city to another city without being kidnapped, killed, or even have his own property stolen, farmland destroyed. How did we get here?
We get here because we are divided as people. We are divided as people because if you check the geographical location of Nigeria, the agitation that is prevailing in the economy, that is the first thing. Lack of patriotism, that is the second. And then we are becoming more sophisticated and as corrupt individuals. We are becoming so sophisticated. What it means for local government is not given to them. We have a structure. We have revenue mobilization, allocation, and fiscal commission to allocate resources that is due for development purposes. But at the same time, we watch how extremely state governors hijack everything. These are some of the things that we got it wrong. No matter how corrupt individuals are, we use law to correct them. If we are not using law to correct corrupt politicians and likewise, we will continue to face these disturbances. However, at the end, we are also becoming very, very sentimental in nature in the whole aspect. Look at the killings in Jos. What brought about killing of individuals in hundreds? For what purpose? These are some of the things. And it is high time for our policymakers to come with a sincere approach in tackling insecurity. Bandits are protected. And they are killing individuals. I appreciate the effort of the governor of Katsina State by becoming to be outspoken. These are some of the things that we require from our political heads to come with the right approach to make sure that all enemies of progress are defeated, whether locally or internationally. If we can do that, we also have to build confidence. We are not building confidence any longer. You see, the people that are not qualified for jobs that is required to maintain efficiency in system are not given opportunity. You see those who are grossly incapacitated being multiplied with several responsibilities without any result. These are some of the things that have eating all of us as people. We will take, for instance, you take some African state. Rwanda is a good case study. They have similar problem, even bigger than what we are. But when they realize that it is time to build, Paul Kagame has come up with different options. And today, an agricultural local farmer is enjoying being a farmer, and he has been assisted. So these are the things I think all of us as people, we come. I always mention W.W. Rostow, who is a developmental economist, always try to emphasize that we can only achieve our growth target if we change our attitude. If attitude refuses to change, there is no way. If attitude did not change, we change the process at which we are making production, we cannot expand our production level, and we cannot succeed as people. Finally, even the media have to be communicating with the right channels, with the right information. Right channels and information. If there are any upheaval that is derailing us as people, the media should hammer it to the core so that the entire citizens can understand. We allow social media to be influencing many things that are wrong in our system, and that social media is also contributing in deteriorating our own philosophy as people.
All right, Ishao, do you think this is a helpless situation for Nigerians conclusively? Because the way I look at it, it's seeming like we have the exchange rate issues, the crisis in the economy attacking from the front, we have insecurity attacking from behind, and say corruption being at the center of it all. So what hopes are there for the common Nigerian who is struggling daily to make ends meet and to get a daily bread?
No, you see, in Daybreak, they trust. I am happy that there is a statement that, look, we as people must build in capacity within us. If we are to build capacity, we can achieve anything. Nigerians are resilient people. The only thing they require is a direction. If you can give youth direction,
Nigerians are resilient people. Sumi,
yes,
okay,
our politicians need to understand that the challenge that is ahead of us can be contained with right policies, with right individuals, with right investments.
Ishao Ali, thank you so much for your contributions on the program this morning, and thank you especially for speaking so passionately about the issues. We really appreciate that and hope that you join us once more, probably next year, to do a review of 2023 to see if really, we made some progress or not. Thank you so much, Ishao.
Thank you very much, and good morning and Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you so much to you too. And to our viewers, well, this is the much we can take right now.
I mean, there is a lot.
But then again, there's so much.
There
indeed.
is so much,
one thing that caught my attention, especially during this segment of the program, is the fact that he mentioned what we spoke about earlier, which is Nigerians being a resilient people. But how resilient do you have to be before you realize
before
that?
You take it.
You have to do something to change your situation. Now, this by no means standing up against the government or rising up against the government in civil disobedience. But what this means is taking actions to ensure that your life changes. And that's why Ishao was saying that you need to generate and develop capacity, because that's the only way you're going to get a direction. And
and let's not forget, he also made mention of holding people accountable and pushing to make sure that the state government also remits the money, give the money to the local government in order for them to make things work. Because I remember, I think on Tuesday, we had this discussion about how people celebrated Christmas without their salaries. And you mentioned in a state where some people even got percentage of the money. So things like this are happening whereby nobody would reach out and say, oh, it's the local chairman. Instead, they point on the governor to say, this is it. There are a lot of people that we don't look up. We don't check them. We don't ask questions. And these people also hold a huge responsibility in making sure the economy grows. So we need to go back down and start asking for every chain in order to make
demand
sure that demand accountability. If you're holding this money and it's not supposed to be with you, you give to this person so that the people of that state or local government would benefit from it.
There's something my mom always says. She would say, don't wait for the government to come and save you. Well, it's not to doubt whether the government will save you or not, but always be prepared and ensure that you have a plan. Because
it's always good to have a plan. And funny enough, Esagir, it's a point now that Nigerians, majority of youths now are trying to, be self-employed. A lot of them are into businesses these days. So you can't even say that Nigerians are lazy at this point. They are doing the most. It's left for the government now to do their own part. It's left for the people in charge of these sectors to do their own part.
And this is where the challenge is, Sumi, because I give an example. Say someone who does business that relies on Forex and the exchange rate would buy the dollars at a particular rate, get equipment or whatever it is. If he's a businessman, he buys his commodities and his goods, he sells them, he makes his money. If he's not well, he makes some reasonable amount of profit, and then he goes back to get more dollars and he realizes that the dollar is now has increased by say 20 or 25%, swallowing his profit and him not even having enough money to buy the same amount of products that he bought previously, which even, in one way or the other, affects the business negatively. So that again,
is true.
You have on one hand where we say Nigerians should have a plan, and on the other hand where they have
the
a plan,
economy is
and
affecting
then
that
exactly,
plan.
and then we keep having issues unexpectedly coming, to take over those plans.
Let's not even forget the global, economy, the trends that also affects our own country. I mean, we saw how the Russia-Ukraine war, which is still ongoing.
The Russia-Ukraine war, there's the war in Sudan. There's also currently the
food stuff that we normally get from outside, it's more expensive these days. So a lot of things is happening, and I've seen the business people coming out to be like talking about the exchange rate. It's going to affect them based on the forward, looking at 2024, they're already expecting it to be way high, which would impact negatively on businesses.
I especially appreciated Ishao for mentioning the need to stabilize the exchange rate more than anything else, because it's upon this that you can build the foundation for any form of foreign direct investment and any form of profits that we're going to get from outside, let alone inside. But then again, that's the much we can take on this ban.